welcome. Today I have a couple collage frames that I made, and I started with cutting some not real thick chipboard squares on my Cricut, and I did them in different sizes so that I could layer them, and this one I was planning to layer. And I start with a couple of jelly prints and some blues, and I glue it to the back, cut corner to corner in the middle, and then I cut the corners out. And I clip away all that I'm not going to need or that won't fit on the frame when I fold back. And I just start folding my sides in and gluing them. This was rather a long video, so I sped it up to 2x speed everywhere. So if you see something, go ahead and slow it down and look at it more closely. And there, I just kind of trimmed the edge off. And this is my second sheet. And I just pick the spot I want. I'm running out of glue. And I do the same thing. I trim the outside edge. I put down a little Cricut mat, or I cut out my corners first. And that just makes it easier to fold and not worry about corners. And cut corner to corner. This is my X-Acto knife. And then trim off any excess that would go beyond the frame. Doesn't have to be perfect or close to perfect because you won't see it. Almost done. Now my original thought was to layer these, but when I actually had them layered, I thought, oh, that looks like it belongs in a baby's room. And I didn't like it. So I continue on for a little bit, but I end up not liking it and turn it into 2 frames. But I'm just using some double-sided tape here So I got all my tape off and I place it on there. And it doesn't take me long, like, nope, I don't like it. So I'm making 2 frames, and on the larger frame, I'm adding a text square. I actually had these all made already, so I just grabbed them from my stash. And same thing, just taking book paper and laying it down on a cardboard chipboard frame, or you can do heavy index card, heavy cardstock. And then on the one with the smaller jelly print frame, I used a larger frame made from the book paper. So I'm going through what I want to do to it, and I have these Idea-ology collage strips, and I've never used them before, and thought, well, I'll give them a shot, and I really like them. I went to see if I could buy some different kinds and couldn't find any different ones, but these are the large size, and just really, I think they're going to come in handy. So now I'm just trying to arrange some of the collage strips with some scraps I had. The ticket looking one is just a scrap of a ticket I had left over, and that's just one of the Stampers Anonymous stamps from Ticket Booth, stamped on some paper. And then the yellow and blue piece is just part of a background that I didn't use, and put it in my scrap bin. And I decided to add some scraps of music looking sheets just around the outside of the frame to kind of break up the book paper. So I add a couple of those to each frame. And with this one, I'm going to go around with black Stays On ink. And I'm taking a stamp from Stampers Anonymous. I think this is from Mini Bouquet. I'll list everything in the description. And I'm just stamping on the left side of the frame. And again, I'm using black Stays On ink. So now I'm going to start layering my collage items. The bird that I'm going to put on is from a sticker book I bought on Amazon several years ago. If I can find it, I'll list it, but I just fussy cut it out. And the flower is a stamp I had from, gosh, I forget the name of the company that I bought all those stamps from years and years ago when I did scrapbooking. So I'm just gluing my bird on. I kind of want my bird to be sitting on something, almost like he's gripping a branch, but he's going to be gripping one of the mini number strips from Idea-ology's ephemera. I think it's called number strips or mini number strips. I'm going to put that aside for a minute and start working on the left one. So as with the last one, I put the music strips on, and this one I'm distressing with vintage photo. I want this one to have a little more vintage look. So I'm taking this little scrap and I buffed around the edge of it with vintage photo, and I stamped with vintage photo. This is a tiny stamp from the field notes from Stamper Anonymous. I think that's what it's called. This is figure 1, figure 2. And now I'm going to stamp a flower from the same mini bouquet stamp set of Stampers Anonymous. And now I'm going to start assembling my collage on the right. And this is from that, the collage strips of Tim Holtz, Idea-ology. And it was a little bit wider, and I thought it needed to be narrow. I would have made it even narrower, but I would have cut the words off the top. So I used my scissors that kind of look like something's ripped, and cut the edges. And then that piece was just a scrap background from another project. I punched holes in it, and now I'm adding a botanical that I fussy cut out of a sticker book. And I'm going to grab a small number from, that's the Idea-ology number list, maybe. I'll list it in the description. Always forget the name of that one. So I buffed around the edges with vintage photo and glue it down. So after giving them both a critical eye, I decide I don't like all the stamping on the one on the right, and so I cover some of it up with some washi tape. And then I decide to add a little washi tape in that big open spot there that's on the collage strip. I'm going to add some washi tape and then some ephemera. So I'm going through that pack of ephemera from Idea-ology. I'm thinking it's field notes, but it's got a lot of flowers, mushrooms, papers, bugs, and so I'm just going through to find 2 or 3 bits that could be assembled on top of that washi tape. And I love that. Not really sure if it's a fly or a bee, but it kind of reminds me of one of those flies that will bite you. So I'm going with fly. So I found 3 items I think will look great, and I start to glue them down. And as with almost always, I somehow don't put it in the same spot, but I am fine with where it ends up. And that's kind of a blank tag there that's like it should say something. And so I take one of my pens and just write as tiny as I can write on that tag. I say fly number 2. And I just put some initials. And just because I can, I stick a little Tim Holtz paperclip, mini paperclip there, even though they're glued down. And I think now I go to, yes, my roto punch, and I'm punching holes in the corner because it will hang from the corner. And I'm getting my circle punch out because I have this large sheet of numbers, and it's about exactly the right size that I need for this circle punch. And then I just make the punch smaller and punch that. Punch a hole in those tags. And I use those little, I think they're called light bulb or bulb, not light bulb, bulb safety pins. And just hook them on with that. I might find something else to add to that later. And the red one, or the one on the right with the red bird, I didn't like all the blue border showing. It was too much blue. And so I was trying to think of some way to bring more red in for the bird. And so I have these tags. They're from Tim Holtz sentiments. Let's see, what's it called? Small talk. And And so I chose a white one and just used my red distress crayon and colored it. And now I'm gluing that on. I thought about the butterfly, it's too big. So my alternative was I had this really tiny red flower to put on the edge there. And that is it. I hope you enjoyed the process. I loved making these. I'm going to be making more of these. They were so much fun. But please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and have a great day.